nice to finally meet you. Can't wait to tell you about the things I've been through. 18 years, I was walking by myself. Ain't no fucking way that could be good for my health. Skeletons go deep. Been living in my closet. Fear of the unknown cause a nigga to be modest. I'm just being honest. It's hard to face the facts that I've been living all this time, not knowing what it mean to be black. Grew up, ain't have no father, just my mother. Her and Graham's the only ones at supper. So many fucking questions, things to discover. Why these white kids always questioning my color? Start to make me wonder, who the hell am I? Why they got me feeling like my brown skin is my demise? You can see it in my eyes, confusion run deep. Start to lose trust, can't tell a wolf from a sheep. Inside the tears leak, can't show it on the surface. Was just a little kid trying to understand his purpose. Tears turned to rage, on fear I turned the page. Smoked my first L, now I'm coping with the haze. Why the value of my life under appraise? Just cause my skin dark. Why the 5 o'clock news only show niggas in chalk? Why I can't just be myself? Always gotta play the part like, boy, you black, you ain't supposed to be smart. Nigga, dead black man, it's nice to finally meet you. Can't wait to tell you about the things I've been through. 18 years, I was walking by myself. Ain't no fucking way that could be good for my health. Skeletons go deep. Been living in my closet. Fear of the unknown cause a nigga to be modest. I'm just being honest. It's hard to face the facts that I've been living all this time, not knowing what it mean to be black.
Hi, my name is Michelle Robinson. I'm a kindergarten teacher here in Olean at Washington West. This is my 15th year in kindergarten. It's rewarding yet challenging. There's good days, there's bad days, but when you meet a child and they start out and you are teaching them how to read, to watch the growth to when they do learn how to read, it's just the happiness they get from that. So that's rewarding for me. And then I have had kids who have been a little challenged, and you just find different ways to deal with that to make them successful, and that's also rewarding in the end. Frustrating at first, but rewarding in the end. I love to teach. I love to watch kids grow and teach them new things that they can't do.
What's it like being an African-American teacher?
That is, it's very challenging because I often find myself not fitting in with the other teachers because I feel like I'm not understood, because they don't know what I've dealt with. They don't know my background. Sometimes they don't understand the frustrations that I have and why I find it difficult to be an African-American woman and teacher in a district that's there are very few black teachers. There's 2. And
you're one of 2. So you're 50% of the African American.
Yes. And I was the only African American teacher until this past school year when we hired another teacher. So when kids come to my classroom, sometimes I'm the only African American they see. And then the other teacher is a 5th grade teacher. So when they get to 5th grade, if they're lucky enough, they'll have her. Other than that, there's no one. I feel that for African American children, they don't know that they could be like me, that they could be a teacher, because they have nobody to guide them along that way, or that they can see like, oh, hey, you know, Mrs. Robinson is a teacher, I can do that. Because if they don't come my way, and I'm at one school out of 4, then they won't know that they can reach that same goal that I was able to reach and to become a teacher. And it's not just with teachers, it's just with anything. If they don't have somebody in their life that's representing their culture to show them that they can be successful, then they will never be given those opportunities. So before I became a teacher, I was a youth mentor for Head Start. And a lot of the kids that I worked with, now I have taught their children. And they too are also saying they want to instill that in their kids to make sure that they're able to reach those same goals. So I was able to affect kids as a youth mentor, and then I became a teacher, and now I'm doing that as a teacher.
Why do you think there are so few Black educators here?
One is because our area. I feel like I've had students from St. Bonaventure in my classroom as student teachers, and they leave the area because there's nothing here for them. They don't have the things that they would have back home here, and also with some of the issues we have within our city and how African Americans are treated also shies people away from coming to this area. I stayed in this area because my kids, they were younger, I had family here, and then as they got older, it was harder to leave, to move them out of the area. And now I want to get my teacher retirement, so I have to stay to get that. Otherwise, I probably would have left earlier and went to an area where there were more African Americans, so that I didn't have to deal with the stuff that I have to deal with here, not only in the city of Olean, but also in the school district.
So what were some of the challenges that you faced, that you feel like you face as a woman, on top of already being Black?
Just people just being given that chance to show that I can be a great educator and a great leader. As far as being Black and in the school system, a lot of people don't really understand the stuff that we go through as African Americans. I often feel like people look at me as, well, she's a good person, so she doesn't deal with that. But I do. I deal with parents who don't want their child in my room because of the color of my skin, because that has happened to me. Worrying about how the kids are gonna, perceive me or be receptive to me, and will they learn from me because of the color of my skin, and will they be afraid of that? That's like an anxiety I have every school year when I meet my class or my parents. It's like, are they gonna accept me for who I am, or are they gonna be judgmental and be, well, I can't have my child have an African American teacher because I am the only one. And just like recently trying to explain to people some of the stuff that happens in society to African Americans and how it makes us feel, and that we're singled out, that like they may not get pulled over for the things that I get pulled over for. I get pulled over because I'm a person of color. And then I hear, well, I didn't pull you over because of the car you drive, or do you know why I pulled you over? Like, yeah, because of the color of my skin. And they feel like that doesn't happen here, but it does. And it's happened to me on several occasions. It's happened to my son on several occasions. My daughter, she has not had to deal with that here, but my son definitely dealt with that more times than he shared with us, because he knows how I would have reacted to that and addressing it with the local police department. And just, I'm related to a lot of people in this area. And I've taught several of my relatives, and people always say, well, you can't teach your relatives. Well, when you're related to everybody, that's gonna happen at some point. And some of my family members have struggled throughout their years. And then just to hear people, talk about a child, and they're so insensitive to, well, that could be somebody's family member, and you don't know what their background is like, and you don't know what struggles they have at home. So that's hard for me, working with people who don't understand the culture. They don't understand the struggles that families have. Recently, I decided to go all natural with my hair. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do it years ago, but I just didn't want to deal with the questions that people would say, or the assumptions that they make, and like, oh, is that a perm? Or why does your hair look like that? Or your hair looks like it's dry. And it's like, So I just did it one day, and now it was, okay, I'm just gonna educate you because you need to know that this is really what I'm all about. Like, it's a lot of work to straighten my hair and have it straight, but this is me, this is how I am, and this is who I'm gonna be. So I just decided I was done dealing with that, and I wanted to be my own person, so.
You said something that was really powerful. You said you have to educate people. Do you feel like you have to educate people because they have a lack of willingness to understand, or because they just don't understand?
I think it's both. There are people who they don't understand and don't get it because they've never been exposed. So that's where the education piece comes in as far as that. And most people are receptive to want to know. They will ask me questions, and then they'll say, I hope you don't get offended, but I just want to know. And I appreciate that. Instead of just making an assumption, they want to learn what it is that I'm about or my hair's about. And then the people who are unwilling to learn, it's like they find an excuse for, well, that can't be true. And it's like, no, just, if you are willing to learn and ask me questions, I'm going to be more receptive to that than just you making an assumption, because then I really don't know how you feel about me. So
how many African American student teachers have you had?
I've had 2.
Were they both women as well?
Yes.
Well, what are some of their experiences that they share with you?
So both were from the Bronx, and and they just had the same struggles that I had, not so much at St. Bonaventure, but more in the school system, because there are very few African-American teachers. Because with St. Bonaventure, sometimes you go to schools like Shingle House, you go to Coudersport, not so much Jamestown, because that's kind of diverse, but like Allegheny, Portville, Wellsville, those type of schools don't have the African-American teachers. So it's like they didn't feel like they fit in because of being the only one there. And I actually, when I was at St. Bonaventure, we had field block placement, so that was where I would go to a school 2 days a week and teach lessons to a grade level, whatever grade I was assigned to. So I had to go to Shingle House, Pennsylvania, and I was there 2 days a week. And for the most part, I was well received by everyone, to the point where they asked me to come back in the summer to teach summer school. And I'm not gonna lie, going over that bridge when you lose signal, it was like, I prayed every day that I came back home, because you just don't know. So, and I always share that experience when I have a student teacher, like, you just have to always be on your A game, but don't let your guard down, so.
You are literally going to help. You're trying to educate. You're not trying to, yeah, you have to be where you are to go teach somebody else's child. Just kind of explain what that process is like as African-American.
It's kind of nerve-wracking in a sense, because I made an oath to teach any and everybody, no matter what. So it's hard when that's my goal, and I don't have a problem doing that, but when I'm not well received by others who I'm trying to help. And I've had a few parents who I've had to really put my foot down and show them that I'm a strong Black woman who you're not gonna walk all over me. I've also done that with teachers as well, but you just you just have to be very strong when it comes to that, because if you're not, then they're gonna walk all over you. And I just always talked myself up before I walked into the building, just to make sure that I knew I was gonna be doing my job no matter what the situation was or what would happen. People being receptive of African Americans. So was a member of the City of Olean's Diversity Committee, and I'm also a member of the School District's Diversity Committee. And when I first started on those committees, I had hope that we could educate people and shed light on the things that have happened to us to make change. For the City Diversity Committee, that committee is now done. It's been put on hiatus because the mayor of Olean was offended because another African-American woman told him he just didn't get it because he's an old white guy. So he got offended by that and he kind of shut our committee down. But when in reality, there was truth to what she said, because he was not understanding, because he's never been in our shoes before to have to deal with any of the things that we dealt with. So we were making progress and I was excited about it, but then when that happened, I kind of lost a little bit of faith, and I'm still pushing through with the school. We're still a little bit of pushback, but until the people in the school district, the administrators, the people who are not of color can have hard conversations and sit and listen and want to make change to try to understand what we go through, I don't think that will ever change, unfortunately. And that's sad, because I won't be here forever. Like 6 years, I can retire. And when I leave, then that leaves the other African-American teacher. And she's young, so she'll be around unless she decides to leave the area. So.
What made you stay for so long? Was it just your kids, or was it the fight?
One, it was because of my children, and then two, because I have to reach that age to get my New York State pension. And then now I still have a fight in me that I want to make change, and I'm going to do anything I can while I'm here to make that difference.
So how was it that the mayor could shut down the committee just because someone made a comment about it you didn't like?
So I'm going to try to answer this.
Because I find that odd. Like, how can you just, because, like in a city like Buffalo, I mean, I'm sure people go out all the time in committees, and the mayor can't just say, well, I'm shutting you down.
So this is my own personal opinion, and I know it's the opinion of others who are on the committee as well, and other people from within the city. I feel like he felt threatened by that, and he doesn't want to make change. And we were putting a lot of pressure on him and having hard conversations, those hard conversations that people don't want to have. And if we can't have those hard conversations, we can't make change. And he also was checking a box. This is just my opinion. With everything that happened with George Floyd, we had the Police Reform Committee, we had the Diversity Committee, and those were things that came down from New York State, from the governor. So it was a check in the box. So he feels like he had a committee, and then he did his due diligence. So then, therefore, he shut it down. So hopefully there's been some talk that he may bring it back, but the same people who were on the committee may not be those committee members. So we'll see what happens.
I find that so odd that he was just able to be like, oh, I'm shutting you guys down. Mm-hmm. You had to shut down. There'll be a riot in Buffalo.
I know.
No, seriously.
For real, I know. And I don't, but that's where the conversations need to be had so that people understand. These are the things that happen when this happens, and there's no repercussions here.
There's no one to check to.
Nope. We need more voices. We need people to speak out. My husband is the first Black alderman, and he's, for some, it's all about politics, but that's not. We're about change. I don't care what you believe, what your party is. I just want everybody to be treated the same way. I want to make change for the city of Olean. We have so much potential. We could have so many more diverse people in this area, but we don't have the things that they need. I shouldn't have to go to Buffalo to get hair supplies. Our goal as a DEI committee was to try to bring those things here so that we could bring more people here. Like St. Bonaventure does a great job with bringing diversity here. I think Pitt Bradford does as well. But then they come here, they go to school, and they don't stay because there's nothing here for them. So.
What were some of like the practices you taught your children when you came to deal with cops?
And it's funny that you asked that question because that's something else that I share with the people that I work with about how we have to educate our kids on if they're pulled over by a police officer. And we just told them, be respectful, don't stand your ground, no, don't show them that you fear them, be firm. If you can call us, call us. Our kids were always educated on saying yes, sir, yes, ma'am, like following everything to a T that they asked because you just never know what's going to happen. And I share that story a lot with the people that I work with. Like, everybody's all worried about when your child drives and the driving aspect. There's more to it when you're a person of color. Our kids need to know. You don't do this, this, and this because this, and this can happen to you. And they just are shocked by that when I say that that's something we have to say to our kids.
Some people don't believe it.
No, they don't.
Some people are so angry, they believe that we want to make it up. Like we want the world to feel bad for us.
Right, yeah. And my son, he would be questioned why he was in a certain neighborhood. And he was going to pick up his white friend who didn't have a car, but why are you here? And the same cop pulled him over twice in the same neighborhood. And then we lived up on Old Rock City Road, so he was coming home one day and he swerved to miss like the manhole. So, because that's how we taught him, don't like run your car into potholes or manholes. And he got pulled over, and when the cop found out, got his license, and he goes, "Oh, is your mom Michelle Robinson, the teacher at Washington West?" And he was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Oh, okay, have a good day." And it's like, so it was okay because you knew that I was a teacher, so you were gonna let him go. But what was your intention before you found out that I was his mother and what his last name was? So, but these are things that people just think don't happen in this area, and they do. Like, it's just sad.
What changes need to be made to the city of Olean that will really help kind of bring the two together? Or do you think that's possible?
I think it's possible if we have leadership who wants to make that change and wants to sit down and have the hard conversations, wants to be educated on the things that are happening. If that person is willing to do that, then I feel like we could make change. But until that happens, it's just going to remain the same. So.
Do you think that'll happen with the current mayor?
No.
So what were some of your experiences like growing up as a Black woman here?
So I actually grew up in Friendship. That's like 25, 30 minutes. And everybody that was of color at the school was my family member. So there were struggles. Dating was not an option because I was related to every African American there. And then the white boys weren't allowed to date a person of color just because of how they grew up and how they were raised. So I did have an issue when I was in 5th grade. There was a boy in my class who decided to call me the N-word. We were out on the playground and I proceeded to beat him up because like stuff like that had happened and I would report it and nothing would change and I just had enough. So I ended up beating him up. We had to sit in school, whatever, together, and then we became good friends. But because he obviously learned that at home and he tried to bring that to school, and there's a lot of that in the schools, I don't know if it's so much anymore, but when I was growing up and when I went to like friendship, that was a problem in our school, and kids hear it at home. And I think here, when the N-word is used, the excuse that you often hear as well, kids hear it in the rap music, so they blame it on something else. My stepmother, she is, or I should say bonus mom, because she's like a mother to me. She is Caucasian, and my son had Grandparents' Day at school when he was in kindergarten, and she went to school because my biological mother was not able to come for the day. And a kid in his classroom told him, "That's not your grandmother because her skin is white and yours is not." That was the first time that my son ever even questioned that, because it was brought to his attention. So when I tried to address it with the school, they were like, "Well, they're only 5. It's like, nope, that's taught at home. That's not something that just because they're 5. They heard that from somewhere, because my son, it was not even a big deal to him. So I feel like a lot of it is how kids are raised and how their parents feel. And it's just something we have to figure out how to deal with. I don't know what the answer is to it, other than I know how I educate the kids in my classroom when I have them every year. So,
what were some of your positives growing up being Black in your area?
Yeah. Can we skip that question? No. I mean, like I said, I grew up in friendship, and there wasn't a whole lot there. Yeah, no, I can't really answer that, because I was around all white people, and I always felt like I had to like defend myself and stick up for myself. So.
Probably really good at fighting.
I'm sorry?
You're probably a really good fighter.
Yeah. You could say that.
Do you feel like because you're a woman, you have to fight more?
I feel like I've had to like defend myself more as a African American than as a female, because of just everybody's perception of African Americans. Not so much, like I haven't really had to defend, or I've had struggles as a woman, but more so as an African American because of the color of my skin. If I had to say that, that's where my struggles have been. Just wanting and getting people to understand me, my culture, the things that I go through on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes it's like, just because I don't say it doesn't mean it's not happening, because sometimes it's not worth talking about or trying to explain when they still are going to have their own way of thinking about it.
No, 100%. So since there was not really positives, I guess now I just kind of ask, so what were some of the negatives?
Fitting in, I guess just a sense of belonging and wanting everyone to understand how it was to be African American, or how it was to have skin color that's different, like the things that they would get and the things that I would not get because of that. That was a negative. And like the friendships and having close friends. I had a few close friends, but just wanting to fit in and to belong, that was always something I struggled with growing up. And as I got older, I think it made me stronger, because as I got older, I didn't really care. And now I definitely don't care. I voice myself, I say what I feel, and don't care if I hurt somebody's feelings, because there are many people who don't care about hurting mine because of the color of my skin. So
At the moment, we don't want to right way to speak up for ourselves. We become angry.
And I say that to people that I work with, and I also explain to them that I feel like I'm given that stigma, but I've had to defend myself my entire life. So it's not me being the angry Black woman I'm on the defense because I've always had to defend. I'm protecting myself. I'm protecting my family. And unfortunately, that's just what has happened in our society, especially in this area. I'm not like, I tend to have a look on my face when there's something I don't agree with. And I feel like people automatically think, oh, she's about to go off. But it's not that, I'm about to go in defense mode because that's just what I've always had to do.
Do you feel like now, because you've been an educator after 15 years, you feel more accepted now, or do you still feel like it's kind of...
I still feel like there are, like I definitely still have a trust issue, and I don't let my guard down. And there's some people that I'm like, I don't know how you really feel about me. So, but I'm still polite, go out of my way to speak. But I think now that I've been involved so much with the diversity committee for the school and for the city, people are starting to understand me as a person, and they are more welcoming, I should say, because they're hearing some stories and some truths about myself as a person. And maybe they wanted to know all along, but just didn't know how to ask. So.
Do you get tired of explaining?
It's exhausting. And I say that to people. I'm exhausted. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just exhausting.
You mentioned earlier about like having gone to Buffalo for like hair products. Talk about that.
So there are like Tops here in Olean does carry some products. Sally's does. But
you're not going to Tops or Sally's for...
But that's like, they don't carry like everything. They just have like the basic stuff. So when I go to Buffalo, I'll go to like the hair store on Bailey Avenue, and I'll go buy my hair products because, and I'm not paying a ton well, they are already expensive, but here in the local area, they're more because people need it. So they're going to charge more because not everybody has the means to go to Buffalo to get hair products. Or when I go to Arizona and visit my kids, I'll get hair product and I'll send it home because it's cheaper there and I have a variety. I don't have to just settle for what's offered here in Olean. So.
Why do you think so many white people are uncomfortable having this conversation?
So it could be because they don't know what to say. This is just my thinking. Or they don't want to believe that it happens. So many, like with the recent shooting in Buffalo, I've had a teacher aide she's always wanting to know things and wants to learn. So she came to me and she said, I don't know what to say other than I'm sorry and I love you and I want to support you in any way I can. And she said, sometimes I just don't know if I'm going to say the wrong thing or not. And I said to her, we have a relationship where you can do that. And I'll let you know what, that was offensive, or no, that's a good point. This is the reason why. So for her, I appreciate that. And I appreciate others who do that. But for others, I feel like I don't think they want to accept that that kind of stuff really happens in this area because it is a small community and everybody knows each other. So they may not want to accept the fact that that kind of stuff happens here, or they just don't know what to say.
Speaking of the Buffalo shooting, when you saw that, what did you feel when you saw that?
Anger. I was like worried about going back to work. Like, okay, now again, I've got to deal with comments or I've got to explain. And none of that happened, but still it was a fear I had because of conversations that have been had before. But very angry, and I just don't understand like why there's so much hate against the African American community. I feel like it's important for people to understand that they need to take the time to listen to our stories and what we've been through, to get a better understanding for why we feel the way we do about the police when they pull us over. I mean, I have friends who are police. I have family members, in-laws that are police. I don't have anything against them. What I have against them is what they do to us. And the fact that people can't admit that that happens and try to change that bothers me. So that's one thing that I would like to change. Like, just admit that, you know what, you do racial profile and that you're unsure about me. But educate yourself on me as a Black woman, African American woman, or the Black culture and the Black community. And then it'd be amazing how much different our world would be if we all would just sit down and have those conversations and learn about each other and treat each other the same. And one thing I can say about the incident with the DEI committee for the city and the mayor, I feel like because we didn't, so our last meeting was November of 2021. We got our letter saying that the committee was going on hiatus in December of 2021, and we did not respond back to him until February, or maybe the end of February, beginning of March. So I feel like he was like, they're not going to do anything. They don't know what to do. And then we came back at him. Like 4 of us got together, wrote a letter with all of our concerns, contacted like the paper, and were interviewed by the paper. So I feel like he was like, they don't have enough knowledge, or they're not educated enough to do something like that. And then we like hit him with it. So, and I feel like a lot of times as African Americans, we're underestimated. They don't think we have the education. They don't think we know what to do or what next steps to take. And so when you can do those type of things, it proves them wrong.
The reason why Black people are, I feel like we should be, is because we have no concise leadership. What are your opinions on that?
There's truth to that, and I agree with that. Because if we had that leadership, I think things would be different for us. Because we would have somebody to look up to, especially for the people who don't have somebody there to support them, to show them that they can make change and do the right thing.
As a mother of 2 Black children, talk about your approach to being a parent and the current respondent.
So when raising my kids, I raised them both to be strong, to never back down from anybody, to never fear anyone, and always to stick up for themselves, because especially growing up here in Olean, that's what they had to do to make it through. And they still are like that to this day. And it's just important to make sure that that's how we raise our kids, like kids of color are raised, because they can really be taken advantage of. And there were a couple times that my son had issues at school and he stuck up for himself. And of course we get the phone call and then I got to go up there, but it's like, no, that's how we raised him. He did what he was supposed to do. We told him that that's what was supposed to happen if he was ever put in a situation like that. Why did you put him in that type of situation? Like, I just feel it's important that all kids of color are raised that way. So especially because when I was raising my kids, it wasn't as bad as it is now. Now, times are tough, and if kids don't know how to stick up for themselves or to protect themselves, they're going to find themselves in situations that are not going to be good.
What were some of your concerns with your children as far as
Well, again, like I said, I'm related to a lot of people here in Olean, so that was always an issue. Like, before you talk to somebody, we need to find out if they're related or whatever. And my son, He had a couple of girlfriends. They were white. And we raised him to be respectful. And he had a couple issues with them and how they cheated on him, they were disrespectful. And I always said to him, when you go to their house, you need to make sure you feel comfortable. If you're not comfortable, you need to leave, because you don't know, just because this girl likes you, that doesn't mean her parents are gonna like you. So we had to educate him on that. And our daughter, same thing with her. One of her boyfriends that she had, the grandfather was just straight up racist. But because we raised her to be strong, she didn't back down to him. Like, she stood her ground, and there was never an issue, but that's just something we always worried about. Like, you have to remember, just because the girl or the boy likes you, their family may not be okay with that. And they may not come out and say that, but you are gonna know, you're gonna feel a vibe if it's an okay situation or not. So
what was that experience like, trusting your kids to, like, releasing them to the world? Like, how did you kind of handle that?
It was hard when growing up and when they went away to college, because you just, like, when they would go spend the night at a friend's house, it was like, okay, like, I of course would meet the parents, but you still have that uneasy feeling about, you know, do they really like my child, or are they just having my child over because their child is like, oh, this is my good friend. And just, again, educating them to make sure that they understood. If there was a situation that they were uncomfortable with, call. We'll go pick them up, let us know how we can help. So that's how I dealt with that. And for the most part, we always had kids come to our house. My daughter never liked to spend the night at anybody's house. She just had this thing about staying at other people's houses, which I was okay with. And my son really didn't. Like, he had one or two friends that they would like hang out, and he would stay there, or they would come to our house. But it was just because that unknown of how they're going to be received by the family. And like I said, for the most part, it was okay, because they really didn't have a lot of friends that they really stayed all the time with. So
What are some of the pillars you think that young black or teenager young adults need to understand about how to maintain a relationship?
So you need to have a respect for yourself and for the other person. Communication is key, and being able to compromise and share equal ground. And for some people that's hard. Some people don't want that in a relationship, but that's how we've stayed together as long as we've been together, because we have those things in our life and with each other. And you have to respect each other's opinions, because if you don't, and you can't come to a compromise, then it's just not gonna work. And I feel like that's a lot of the problem that people have. And you can't give up. You have to be willing to stick it out and try to work through whatever problem you have. You just can't have a couple of disagreements and be like, okay, I'm done. I can't do this. Like, that's how it works. Because you have lots of disagreements, but so.
What does compromise look like in your relationship? I don't know.
Just listening to both sides, pros and cons, and try to find a way to solve the problem. That's what we do. Mm-hmm.
All the while, that person has no idea what they feel. They don't even know that because they left a sweet, left a juicy.
Right.
They didn't know that you were saving that juice for whatever reason, you know. What is communication?
Just expressing yourself and your feelings, giving your opinion, respecting the other person's opinion, and talking out the differences. I mean, like you can't just go and say, okay, I'm gonna go buy, I don't know, I'm gonna go buy this new car, and without talking to the other person. Yes, oh, absolutely. Like, and so you have to have the conversation about like a big purchase like that, or about that, and it's just with anything, but I'm just using that as an example. And if it fits, it fits. If not, then you have to come to that compromise where, okay, well, maybe this is something we can do later, or this is what the goal needs to be now, and this is how we're going to get to that goal. And instead of just saying, well, I'm just going to go buy the car anyway, because then, even though you buy the car, you're still going to have that other person's going to have that animosity because you chose to go and do this, even though we talked about it and this was not a mutual agreement. So I just feel like when you communicate with each other about things, that helps the situation and it helps to make your marriage stronger. In the beginning, I think I would get like upset and I can't say hurt because it wasn't hurt, but it was just like feeling like you want to give up, but then I didn't give up. And now we just sit down and we talk about it, and we already know that, you know, this is how we're going to handle it. So, and it took a while to work through it, and a lot of times some of our stuff we disagree on would be with how we do things with the kids. And, but then we finally got it where we needed to sit down and talk and, okay, well, we're going to handle it this way. It may not be what the other person wants, but it's what's best for the situation. And that's just how we handled it.
All right. So, have you ever heard the song "Get Whakim" by Carney?
Let's see. Well, I don't know, because if Ajani's had it posted, like, I don't know, I could have.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play the song for you. Well, actually, I'm gonna give you the song.
Okay.
And you're just gonna listen to it, and as you hear certain things that may trigger you, or that you can identify with, so we should kind of stop and talk about it.
Okay.
Here you go.
Dear black man, it's nice to finally meet you. Can't wait to tell you about the things I've been through. 18 years, I was walking by myself. Ain't no fucking way that could be good for my health. Skeletons go deep. Been living in my closet. Fear of the unknown cause a nigga to be modest. I'm just being honest. It's hard to face the facts that I've been living all this time, not knowing what it mean to be black.
So after listening to this in the beginning, to me what this is saying is that the importance of knowing what it's like as a black man, not having a black father figure in your life, and wanting to know where you're coming from or what it's like to be black. Is that, so keep playing?
Grew up, ain't have no father, just my mother. Her and Graham's the only ones at supper. So many fucking questions, things to discover. Why these white kids always questioning my color. Start to make me wonder, who the hell am I? Why they got me feeling like my brown skin is my demise? You can see it in my eyes, confusion run deep. Start to lose trust, can't tell a wolf from a sheep. Inside the tears leak, can't show it on the surface. Was just a little kid trying to understand his purpose. Tears turn to rage, on fear I turn the page. Smoked my first L, now I'm coping with the haze.
So also with this, I feel like it's important for all kids of color to know what their purpose is, because in this area we don't have the white people don't make us feel like we have a purpose. Whether it's kids, teachers, like I often feel that sometimes with kids that I've taught, and I see them and I see other white teachers interact with them, that they don't make them understand that they have a purpose and that they need to do X, Y, and Z to be successful.
My life under appraise, just cause my skin dark. Why the 5 o'clock news only show niggas in chalk? Why I can't just be myself? Always gotta play the part like, boy, you black, you ain't supposed to be smart. Nigga, dead black man, it's nice to finally meet you.
So,
like before you even got there, I just knew it.
So there are a couple of students at school, and one, I had him in kindergarten. It's my cousin's son, and you know, he's a bigger kid. He's like a little teddy bear, but he doesn't know his own, like, all the power he has behind him, and he's very sensitive. But whenever he gets in trouble at school, I talk to him and I say to him, don't do these kind of things, because that's what they want. They want you to fail. You have to show them that you're smarter than that you are going to become something. Show them the opposite of what they want. They're expecting you to behave the way you do, and they want to bring you down. There's a couple of kids at school, and I say that to them, like, this is what they want. They want you to get in, they want to pull you out of the classroom. They want to send you, they want to put a label on you, because they don't know how to deal with you. They don't understand you. And that's all it is. Like, they just don't understand.
Can't wait to tell you about the things I've been through. 18 years, I was walking by myself. Ain't no fucking way that could be good for my health. Skeletons go deep. Been living in my closet. Fear of the unknown cause a nigga to be modest. I'm just being honest. It's hard to face the facts that I've been living all this time. I knowing what it mean to be black.